The business landscape has changed dramatically from when I first started, but some things haven't changed and probably never will. And over my last 20 years in business, neglecting those things has easily cost me millions and millions of dollars. So today, I want to show you 5 different million-dollar business lessons that they don't teach in college. Pieces of life-changing business advice that I wish I would have learned and taken more seriously at the time. Starting with the importance of identifying and prioritizing buyers over everybody else. In business, there are buyers and there are non-buyers. Buyers are your customers, clients, or anyone that gives you money in exchange for the products or services you sell. These are the people that you want to listen to and serve and keep in mind when you're creating your marketing, so it makes them feel like it was made just for them. Non-buyers, on the other hand, are the people that haven't bought, aren't currently buying, or even looking for what you sell, and are the people that are probably never going to buy anything from you in the future. Non-buyers are the people that you want to ignore, but more than that, you want to actually go out of your way to avoid hearing their thoughts and ideas or opinions. Any advice that they have about you or your business is worse than irrelevant. It's dangerous. Because if you listen to them, you'll end up building your business around trying to serve a group of people that never buy anything. In fact, this is one of the most common complaints I hear from business owners. How they seem to always attract low-quality customers, non-buyers, penny pinchers, tire kickers, pain-in-the-neck people who just waste all their time and never buy anything. Yay, business! The good news, though, is the solution here is actually pretty simple. First, get clear on exactly who your ideal buyers are. What's their age, gender, where do they live, what kind of things are they into or do they like doing? And make sure you're building this profile around people who have actually bought from you before or people that you want to sell to if you're expanding into a new market. The best marketing works because it's real, authentic, and not based on some goofy gimmick or stunt designed just to get attention. So build all of your marketing, your messaging, and your entire brand around making these customers feel seen and heard and understood. Because customers don't buy when they understand, they buy when they feel understood. When you try to please buyers, you make money. When you try to please non-buyers, which for the record is the category that most people out there are going to fall into, well, you end up feeling lost and confused and trying to please everybody, which makes nobody happy, and you're forced to water down your message, which means not properly serving your ideal buyers in the first place. Of course, the best way to make sure that you're acting strategically is to also apply this next lesson, which is how to think like a rich person. I was pretty lucky early in my career to get to work personally with a number of different billionaires. Now, I'm not going to pretend that they all took me under their wing and mentored me for 12 hours a day, teaching me all of their business building skills and secrets. But I did do this for just over 7 years, so it was almost kind of inevitable that at least a few lessons were going to sink in. Some lessons were learned in direct conversation when they would just tell me something like, success is less about making good decisions and more about making fewer bad decisions. And other lessons were learned by observation, like seeing how carefully they guarded and valued their time. I need to unpack the whole value of time later on in this video, as it's just so incredibly important. But for now, let's start with unpacking this whole success is less about making bad decisions thing. There's a great book by Keith Cunningham called The Road Less Stupid. Great title, by the way, where he also champions the idea that success is the result of critical thinking, making strategic decisions, being intentional about what you're doing and why, and above all, not falling into the trap of short-sighted emotional thinking. To an emotional decision maker, everything looks like one of those once-in-a-lifetime opportunities, and they lead with their heart 99 times out of 100. Now, I'm not saying to not trust your gut or follow your intuition or anything like that, but I am saying, just like our good buddy Keith over there, that emotional thinking often prevents you from looking at things objectively and seeing all the risks associated with a decision. Whereas critical thinking helps you to take action when the time is right and feel confident in your choice, which means you'll commit more to fully putting in the work required to realize your goals. But I can make this even easier with the simple good versus bad decision framework. Good decisions are based on critical thinking and involve the use of facts and data. Bad decisions are based on emotional thinking and feelings, which can change quickly and lead to regret shortly after. All that said, there is going to be a time, many actually, where you're going to need to take a calculated risk in your business in order to take it to the next level, which just so happens to be what this next lesson is all about. Business is risky, but Then again, so is life. And as good old A.B. Guthrie wrote back in 1965, if you must be regretful, regret what you didn't do, not what you did. So if you're in the early stages and have fears over starting a business, then take heart from this article from Business Wire that says how 85.4% of small business owners regret not starting their business sooner. And if you're already in business and just worried about the future, then understand how most of the regrets of all of the failed businesses and failed entrepreneurs that have come before you are actually relatively easy to fix with just enough strategic thinking and a healthy dose of action. Now sure, there are times where you're probably going to be much better off by not acting, like if you're about to do something incredibly physically dangerous. Hey, you should totally do that. No, you shouldn't. That's a bad idea. But for the most part, procrastinating on your goals and dreams and putting off things that you know you need to do is going to lead to the most painful regrets of all. A good example here is a big regret often repeated by failed entrepreneurs or companies is not having done enough market research, to which the solution is do more market research. So talk to customers, look at your competitor, spend some time identifying and building out your competitive advantage. Another regret of failed entrepreneurs is not relying on their network enough and trying to go it lone wolf style, feeling too scared or too ashamed to tell their friends and family what they're doing and asking if they knew anyone who might be interested in what they're selling. So don't do that. As the old saying goes, all things being equal, people will do business with and refer businesses to those people they know, like, and trust. Or how about this regret? The regret of distraction, allowing yourself to be pulled in a million different directions rather than focusing in on one thing and allowing yourself the time and space to become truly world-class at it and operate in your zone of genius. But by far, the best way to make good business decisions that maximize the upside while also minimizing the downside is by running through a filter of your goals. The only problem though is that most people were never really taught how to properly set goals so that they actually work. So let me walk you through that now. My opinion on goal setting has changed a lot over the last 20 years or so. At first, I was a big fan of setting SMART goals. You know, the kind of goals that are specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound. Now sure, SMART goals are good and a pretty good jumping off point, but at least for me, anytime I set a SMART goal, I felt a little bit underwhelmed, a little bit bored. Then I heard about something called a BHAG, or Big Hairy Audacious Goal, in a book called Built to Last by Jim Collins. The purpose of a BHAG is to set a goal that's just so big and so beyond your current capabilities that you're going to need to become an essentially different person and learn new skills and develop new relationships in order to achieve it. If you can already visualize a clear path for how to achieve it, then your goal's just not big enough, because if you know how to do it, you probably would have done it already. Now this was better than SMART goals, but the problem that I had with the BHAGs is that sometimes I would set these big, hairy, audacious goals that were just so big and so ridiculously beyond my current capabilities that my brain would just automatically shut down and deem them as unrealistic and completely unachievable. But then I discovered something that changed everything. It's a concept by Dan Sullivan from Strategic Coach called 10x is easier than 2x. And this is one of the most powerful and profound goal-achieving success formulas or frameworks that I've ever come across. And the premise behind it is actually pretty simple. Just take wherever it is that you are right now and then imagine a future that's 10 times bigger or 10 times better. You see, most people set incremental goals, or at the very most a 2x goal, where they're trying to double something. But the problem with a 2x goal, let's say that you want to double your income, is that your brain naturally goes to working 2 times harder, or 2 times longer, or making 2 times as many sacrifices. Let's be honest, that sucks. Certainly not fun, certainly not motivating. After all, for most people who are already working as hard as they possibly can, the thought of working 2 times longer or 2 times harder is completely ridiculous and undesirable. But 10x? Well, my friend, you can't work 10 times harder or 10 times longer, or you'll die. So you need to be creative, strategic, and start looking for ideas and people and opportunities beyond your current capabilities. Not only that, but a 10x goal is interesting and exciting, and at the very least, probably at least somewhat believable, especially if you put a long enough time horizon on it. Of course, the only way that you're going to be able to go 10x in your business or in your life is by understanding and embracing this next principle. A principle that was one of the hardest for me to grasp personally, but also one that was the most powerful and important. I've got some bad news. You're gonna die. No! Now, hopefully you're not gonna die anytime soon, but the fact is nobody gets out of this whole life thing alive. It's not a matter of if, but when. Which means that the single most valuable asset or resource that you have is your time, as it's the only thing that you can never get back. Now, I'm not here to get all philosophical on you and talk about whether life is short or long or medium. But the simple fact is that most people just waste an absolute ton of time. And by waste, I'm talking about doing things that they don't like, don't get any enjoyment from, and leave them feeling worse off after than they were before. And this usually comes down to number 1, doing the wrong things in the wrong place for the wrong people. Number 2, making decisions about what they're gonna work on based on emotions and how they're feeling, rather than planning things out ahead of time in a way that's going to set them up for success long term. Number 3, procrastinating and putting off decisions because they seem risky or uncertain. Number 4, not having a clear, compelling goal that they want to work on or achieve, which leads to being open to distractions and working on things of much lesser importance. And number 5, not knowing the true value of their time and filtering every decision through that lens. Now, the first 4 we already talked about and hopefully solved for leading up to this point. So it's this 5th one that we've got to take care of now, which, like I said before, is maybe the most important business lesson you need to learn, which is the true value of your time. First, let's look at it objectively by taking whatever amount of money you've earned over the past 12 months and then divide that number by 2,000, which is the average number of working hours in a year. This is going to give you your rough hourly rate, or your value per hour. So if you made $50,000 last year, you'd divide that by 2,000 and you'd be left with a value per hour of $25. If you made $500,000, you'd again divide that by 2,000 and you'd be left with a value per hour of $250. Made $5 million? Then your value per hour is $2,500. And if you made $1 billion last year, which many of my clients did, and more, well then your value per hour is a staggering $500,000. On that note, I remember one day one of my billionaire clients being really frustrated that we couldn't take off on time and we were stuck on the runway for an extra 2 hours. I didn't really understand and I was comfortable and happy until I realized that his time, roughly worth say $500,000 an hour, and we were stuck on the runway for 2 hours. Well, that cost him $1 million in lost productivity. But whatever your value per hour is right now, just know this. This is just where you're at right now and says nothing about where you want to be. This is where the whole goal setting thing and 10x is easier than 2x comes into play. This is why, yes, you should know where you're at, but also know where you want to go and then come up with a strategic plan and set of actions in order to take you there. And a large portion of this means stopping doing things that are just not worth your time and are unlikely to get you the results that you're after. For easy math here, let's say that your goal is to make $1 million a year, which again we'll divide by 2,000 gives us a value per hour of $500. Well, now you have a guideline, a benchmark, a tool to measure all of your activities against in order to figure out whether they're worth your time or not. And as the great quote by Naval Ravikant goes, you don't get rich by spending your time to save money, you get rich by saving your time to make money. This is why when I first did this exercise in my own business and with my own life, I quickly realized that it wasn't worth my time to do pretty much anything that I didn't love or didn't make me the most amount of money possible. For example, waiting in line at the bank, mowing the lawn, returning a package, cooking, cleaning, and basic household stuff. Well, when I do it all myself, it costs me thousands and thousands of dollars in lost time. Time that I could have invested by spending it with my family, or working on my business, or doing perhaps the most important business growing activity of all, marketing. So to help you with that, the next thing that you're definitely going to want to do is check out the video that I've got linked up right here, which is going to give you some of my absolute best marketing strategies to help you grow any business. So make sure to tap or click that now, and I'll see you in there in just a second. All right, I think we're good. Okay, thank you very much.